Hi guys, today I want to react to a video by PsychDepth and it is called Some Women Blame Men for Everything Until They Need Saving. This video explores why people have been conditioned, some people out there have been conditioned into fearing men instead of actual danger. From social media to survival psychology, it breaks down how people have replaced logic with ideology and what it actually means for our modern society.
Here's a thought experiment that reveals everything wrong with modern thinking. Ask someone what scares them more. A complete societal collapse where electricity fails, food runs out, and law disappears, or being alone in a room with a man. You'd think the apocalypse would win, right? But increasingly, people are saying they'd rather face the end of civilization than trust the opposite sex.
Terrible.
Let me explain why this isn't about actual danger, but about psychological conditioning that's created a generation terrified of their own species while completely unprepared for real threats. The fear response toward men has become so exaggerated, it's actually comical. I had a client whose girlfriend would clutch her keys between her fingers walking to her car at night, terrified of attack. But she'd also text while driving on the highway. Statistically, she's about 10,000 times more likely to die from distracted driving than from a parking lot assault. But one fear feels real while the other doesn't. That's conditioning, not logic.
True.
This exaggerated fear isn't based on lived reality for most people. The vast majority have never experienced actual violence. They've experienced stories, statistics taken out of context, and endless social media posts about danger.
Oh, let's not forget all these Netflix documentaries that women are eating up. Every time there's a documentary about a serial killer, assaults, whatever out there, they're like, oh yeah, that was a watch. They would like eat it with popcorn and be like, it doesn't affect me. The next day, this is exactly what they do.
They're living in the safest time in human history while convinced they're in constant mortal peril. Meanwhile, their ancestors faced actual daily threats and still managed to build civilization. What this fear really masks is a deeper insecurity about personal vulnerability. It's easier to blame an external threat than admit you feel powerless in general. It's more comfortable to say men are dangerous than acknowledge I don't know how to protect myself, or I've never developed real strength. The fear becomes a shield against confronting personal inadequacy.
Do you think it is also related to the way they have been raised? Like, do you think the way your parents have treated you and the way they have raised you, like in a way that you are not ready for the world outside, you know, for society and all the wrongdoings, or you don't know how to face difficulties in your life because of the way your parents have treated you? Do you think it has any kind of connection?
The comfort dependency issue is what really exposes the contradiction. Modern lifestyles have completely separated people from primal resilience. The same individuals who claim to fear men desperately depend on male-dominated industries for survival. Who maintains the power grid? Who fixes the pipes? Who delivers the food? Who enforces the law?
It's like they're blind.
The overwhelming majority are men,
men,
but somehow, those providing the infrastructure of survival are simultaneously the primary threat. This identity crisis becomes glaring when imagining societal breakdown. Without electricity, running water, food delivery, law enforcement, what happens? Suddenly physical strength matters, technical skills matter, the ability to build, fix and defend matters. And who's been developing these skills while others were developing their personal brand on Instagram? The hidden dependence becomes impossible to ignore. The contrasting instincts under pressure reveal fundamental differences in approach. When crisis hits, masculine energy typically leans toward action. See problem, solve problem, need shelter, build it, need food, hunt it, need protection, fight for it. This isn't about superiority, it's about tendency toward direct engagement with problems. Feminine energy often leans toward avoidance and emotional protection in crisis. This makes evolutionary sense. When you're potentially carrying children, risk avoidance is smart. But in modern context, this becomes paralysis. Instead of developing crisis skills, there's a tendency to hope the crisis doesn't happen.
This is like the picture of the woman on the fire there reminds me of that experiment where they put a group of women on one side of an island and a group of men on one side and let them survive. And then it ended up with women crying, coming to the men to try to even get heat because they didn't make fire in time because they were arguing the whole time.
or someone else handles it. Again, not universal, but an observable pattern. These different responses highlight psychological polarity that's been consistent throughout history. It's not that one approach is better, they're complementary, but pretending they don't exist or that they're purely social constructs leaves people unprepared for reality when comfortable civilization stops functioning. Let me share something I observed during a recent power outage that lasted 3 days.
3 days?
The neighborhood dynamics shifted immediately. The same woman who posts constantly about toxic masculinity was at my client's door within hours, asking if his generator could keep her refrigerator running. She went from, "I don't need a man," to "please help me," the moment comfort disappeared. Not because she's hypocritical, but because ideology evaporates when reality arrives.
But it's also
the collapse of the innocent victim myth is
because
crucial
that
here.
same woman will still complain about those men when the electricity comes back. So yeah, I'm calling that as a hypocritical. If that same woman does the same thing, goes back to the same old ways, doesn't appreciate a man after a man actually came and helped her, that is hypocritical.
We've been conditioned to see certain groups as inherently moral and others as inherently dangerous. But capacity for cruelty and manipulation exists across all human categories. I've seen people destroy lives with gossip as effectively as violence. I've seen emotional manipulation cause more lasting damage than physical confrontation. During my years of counselling, I've encountered individuals whose worst abusers were those they'd never suspect. The female boss who psychologically tortured her female employees while championing women's empowerment. The male feminist who was secretly the most controlling partner. The categories we're taught to trust or fear often have nothing to do with actual behaviour. Denying aggressive capacity in any group creates social imbalance. When we pretend only certain people can be perpetrators, we blind ourselves to actual threats. The person who ruins your life might not be who you're watching for. They might be someone you'd never suspect because they don't fit the profile you've been programmed to fear. This false belief in same-gender unity and safety falls apart under examination. The notion that people automatically thrive among their own gender ignores massive evidence to the contrary. Competition, jealousy, and covert hostility often emerge in single-gender groups. Ask anyone who's worked in an all-female or all-male environment. It's not the utopia people imagine.
No, it's
I
not.
counsel individuals who've been betrayed, sabotaged, and destroyed by their own gender.
It's way more savage. It is way more savage. And also I go back to that same experiment. The women were arguing who is going to be the leader. None of them wanted any of those women to lead. They all thought that they are the best for that position. And they spent so many of the daytime arguing to choose the leader, while the men chose the leader immediately, didn't care, and followed rules. So this is the thing, like, why do you complicate shit? And why do you think you are entitled to something? Instead of like humbling yourself down and working for the same goal together. That's something that doesn't happen a lot in all women groups.
Far more often than by the opposite sex. The rivalry within groups can be vicious precisely because it's for the same resources, same recognition, same positions. Your biggest threat often comes from someone similar to you, not different from you. Consider the dynamics in any competitive environment. Who's most likely to sabotage your promotion? The colleague of the opposite sex who's in a completely different track, or the one of your same gender competing for the exact same position?
Yep.
Who's more likely to spread rumours about your personal life? Someone from a different social circle or someone within your own?
I think women gossip more than men for sure.
The workplace violence statistics tell an interesting story that contradicts the narrative. The vast majority of workplace hostility, sabotage, and psychological warfare happens within gender groups, not between them. Yet we're programmed to fear the opposite sex while trusting our own. This misalignment between perception and reality leaves people vulnerable to actual threats while defending against imaginary ones. Real security depends on trust and character, not gender alignment. A trustworthy man is safer than an untrustworthy woman, and vice versa. But we've been programmed to see danger through gender lens rather than character lens. This leaves people vulnerable to actual predators who don't match the expected profile. Human nature itself is the source of darkness, not masculinity or femininity specifically. Evil and violence stem from human impulses that exist across all categories. Every individual carries potential for both harm and virtue. The difference isn't in the plumbing, but in the choices, values, and character development. History shows us repeatedly that when civilization's veneer cracks, surprising people become monsters and surprising people become heroes. The quiet neighbor might become a warlord. The aggressive colleague might sacrifice themselves saving others.
This is like the zombie apocalypse. Like, who do you think in a zombie apocalypse would survive? And especially if you look around you, the people you know, which ones you choose to think that they're going to survive, and then see what is in common with these people. And we can talk from there, because I am sure that the majority of the survivors, if not 99%, are going to be men. All right. And the women surviving is because of the men helping them to survive.
This doesn't create character, it reveals it. And character isn't determined by gender. During the London Blitz, there were women who looted bombed houses while their neighbours were dying inside, and women who risked their lives pulling strangers from rubble. There were men who became black market profiteers exploiting suffering, and men who gave their last food to children. The crisis didn't create these choices. It revealed who these people always were.
True.
Cultural indoctrination has replaced nuanced understanding with simplistic narratives. Modern discourse teaches people to see interactions through oppressor/victim lens rather than complex human dynamics. This emotional programming fuels resentment and self-deception, while preventing genuine understanding of how relationships and society actually function. The education system reinforces these narratives from childhood. Children are taught to categorize people as safe or dangerous based on demographics rather than behavior. They learn to see group identity before individual character. By adulthood, this programming is so deep that questioning it causes cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
The media amplification of this programming is relentless.
It is the same when you learn about history, for example, and you are in a specific country with specific books, study books, and specific historical facts. Let's say facts, even though majority of the time it's not. So if you have been studying a specific fact in history about, let's say, the war, then you are going to grow up believing into that fact and believing that history, and you're going to tell your next generation and the next generation about that and being true. Now, a different place, different country, different fact, now different type of history, different story. Who is right and who is wrong? So that's actually one of the things that is very wrong in education and the educational system. Especially that it doesn't teach you to question anything. Like, you learn from the teacher and you believe that whatever the teacher is telling you is 100% true, and how dare you question it, right? Because it's not in their value. They don't wanna teach you how to question society, teach you how to question how things work. They don't want a rebel. They want someone who will just follow the rules. They don't want a rule breaker.
Dissonance. The media amplification of this programming is relentless. Every story is framed through the lens of group conflict rather than individual choice. Every crime becomes representative of a demographic rather than a person's decision. Every success or failure is attributed to category rather than character. This constant reinforcement makes the programming feel like reality, even when personal experience contradicts it. The gender propaganda serves someone's interests but not yours. While people are fighting about who's more dangerous or more victimized, actual power structures remain unchallenged. Yep. Divide and conquer is ancient strategy, and it's working perfectly. Keep the population afraid of each other and they won't notice who's actually exploiting them.
That is so true. How many wars have been started within a society or within like two countries or within the borders of one country, and then another savior country comes in and be like, I'm here to like save you and protect you, but nobody's questioning how even those two civilizations or two nations or even within the one nation started arguing between each other. I might think that third country that had the best resources in that country, that used all those resources, came over, conquered that country, is the one that is at fault, behind the scene. That's like too deep for this video.
Situations reveal what civilization allows us to hide. When resources become scarce, when law breaks down, when survival is uncertain, ideological comfort disappears. Suddenly, competence matters more than credentials. Strength matters more than sensitivity. Loyalty matters more than likes. Reality reasserts itself with brutal clarity. I've talked to survivors of actual societal breakdowns, wars, natural disasters, economic collapses. You know what they never mention? Gender studies theories. They talk about finding water, securing food, protecting family, maintaining shelter. They talk about who stepped up and who fell apart. And it's never who you'd predict based on modern narratives. One survivor of the Yugoslav wars told me something that stuck.
You mentioned Yugoslav wars. I'm here. I am here. If we are talking about 1990, I know it. I'm Balkan.
When the shooting started, the feminist professor and the traditional housewife both did the same thing, looked for strong men to protect them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, some of those strong men ran away while their skinny neighbours stayed and fought. Crisis doesn't care about your ideology or appearance.
True.
Another survivor from Hurricane Katrina described how the social order completely inverted within 48 hours. The yoga instructor became ruthless about hoarding resources. The construction worker shared his last water with strangers. The police officer abandoned his post while the former convict organised neighbourhood protection. Every assumption about who could be trusted was wrong. The parental instincts under threat show interesting patterns. Fathers often prioritise defence and endurance, standing ground, fighting if necessary, ensuring long-term survival.
Yeah, I think that's
Mothers often prioritise immediate escape and emotional comfort, getting children away from danger, soothing distress.
Makes sense.
Both are valuable, both are necessary. Neither is complete alone.
True.
But we've created a culture that
And that is so interesting how when you are raising a family and there's the father role and the mother role, and you go out there and you question what is the father role truly, what is the mother role, but then in a crisis situation like this, you exactly know what the father role is and what the mother role is. You would not even question it. You just go into action, you do it. So why are we even arguing about it when it's not even necessary, when we exactly know what a father entitles and what a mother entitles?
denies these natural tendencies. We pretend that maternal and paternal instincts are identical, that protection and nurture are the same thing. This leaves children without the full spectrum of what they need. They get half a survival strategy and wonder why they feel unprepared for life.
Yep.
The denial of these complementary instincts creates confused children who don't understand their own impulses. Boys who feel protective are told they're toxic.
And how
Girls who seek protection are told they're weak. Both are being denied the full range of human experience and the wisdom of evolved strategies that kept our species alive. But cultural conditioning has convinced many that one instinct is toxic while the other is pure. This leaves children without half the protection they need. A child needs both the parent who'll fight threats and the parent who'll provide comfort. Denying either aspect leaves them vulnerable. True protection comes from resilience, not just removal from danger. You can't always run from threats. Sometimes you have to stand and face them. Sometimes comfort isn't possible, and endurance is required. Preparing children for reality means teaching both aspects, not pretending one is unnecessary.
True.
The real divide in humanity isn't biological, it's moral. There are people of strong character and weak character, people who build and people who destroy, people who protect and people who exploit. These categories cross all demographic lines. Your allies and enemies aren't determined by their chromosomes but by their choices. Think about your own life experiences. Who has actually helped you when you needed it? Who has betrayed you when you trusted them? If you're honest, you'll find these people distributed across all categories. The investment banker who volunteers at the shelter, the charity worker who embezzles funds. Character transcends category. Blaming an entire gender for society's problems prevents self-reflection and personal accountability,
which is so important. Accountability it's non-existent, especially in my gender. I have to admit it. Women will try every kind of way to just blame the other gender or blame anything around them before blaming themselves for any mistakes that have been done. The accountability part, it's the last thing. You have to literally put them and corner them and pressure them so much before they will admit that they made a mistake, before they will admit that they are accountable for something. It is terrible. And somehow there's so many women who know how to manipulate a situation to make it sound and look like that you are in the wrong and not them, because they are not ready to be accountable for their actions, because they are completely delusional. A lot of times they also don't know. A lot of times you cannot even prove to them. They're in such a denial. They are so delusional that you cannot even prove to them that they are wrong and what they have done or said or think is wrong.
It's easier to say, those people are the problem, than examine your own contributions to dysfunction. It's more comfortable to claim victimhood than acknowledge agency.
Oh, yeah.
But this mentality keeps people trapped in cycles of
victimhood,
resentment and failure. The victim mentality programming is
mentality.
particularly destructive because it removes agency. If you're always a victim of the opposite sex, you never have to examine your own choices, patterns, or contributions to negative outcomes. This feels protective but actually prevents growth and condemns people to repeat the same destructive patterns indefinitely. True progress requires uniting good people across all categories against corruption and weakness. The grandmother who raised her family with wisdom has more in common with the grandfather who protected his community than either has with the criminals of their own gender. Character creates deeper bonds than surface categories. Here's what's
And that's why it's really important to make sure who you are marrying, who you are choosing as a partner, a person that does share these values, especially in a crisis of situation. You need to know, what is your role? What is my role in this specific incidents? And you need to start from there and see what their perspective and what their principles are when it comes to life.
really happening. People fear men more than apocalypse because they've been programmed to see gender as threat, while being completely disconnected from actual survival skills. They're terrified of the protector while being unprepared for what they'd need protection from. It's like being afraid of the lifeguard while unable to swim. The irony is thick enough to cut. The same people who claim men are the primary danger would be desperately seeking male protection the moment real danger arrived.
Yeah. And have you noticed how the majority of the cases we are talking about these women who are on social media, on TikTok, saying that they are fearing men left and right, that men are the biggest danger? For example, remember the challenge, would you end up with a bear or a man in the woods? And a lot of them would choose a bear instead of a man. And this is the thing. These are women who are living in a first world country, who don't have any problems in life, who don't have any actual issues that they have to deal with, who can like literally call anyone, any company to deal with something, not knowing which gender is going to appear to help them out with anything. But when real danger comes, when they really need help and the only gender out there is a man, then they are going to be proven wrong. And these women live in such a comfortable life and living that they can go on social media and shit on a man until they actually do need a man.
When the power goes out, when the food stops coming, when law breaks down, suddenly those toxic masculine traits like strength, aggression, and protective instincts become pretty valuable.
Yeah.
I witnessed this during a violent protest that broke out near my office. The women who'd been lecturing about male violence were immediately looking for male colleagues to escort them to their cars.
Yeah.
Not because they're hypocrites, but because when actual danger appears, reality overrides ideology. They knew instinctively who was more likely to be able to protect them physically. The same dynamic plays out in every natural disaster, every breakdown of order. The ideological positions evaporate, and biological reality reasserts itself. Not because one sex is superior, but because different capabilities become relevant in different contexts. Denying this
Natural
leaves
danger,
everyone
the
less
physical is
prepared and more
important.
vulnerable. I'm not saying women are weak or men are heroes. I'm saying the narrative that paints one gender as inherently dangerous and the other as inherently virtuous is not just wrong, it's dangerously naive. It leaves people unprepared for reality while focused on imaginary threats. Real preparation for crisis means developing actual skills, not just fears. Learn basic survival techniques,
Oh my
understand
God.
basic mechanics, develop physical...
I managed to, in 2 seconds, to almost press back, dislike the video. I liked it, don't worry. And make a whole sound alert on my Windows. Anyhow, what I wanted to say, I just wanted to pause the video to tell you something. This chaos just happened. I need a man to save me. I'm just joking. I now even forgot what I wanted to say. See, like this is the process of my brain. And if I don't pause and say it immediately, I will forget what I want to say. When he said like developing these techniques, the survival techniques and capabilities, like the first thing that came into my mind, imagine like a zombie apocalypse course or a camp for men and women to just like go through it like a show and then learn what you have to do in a zombie apocalypse and see how and which gender is going to deal with it more and who's going to survive. That actually is cool. I don't know if it exists. If it does, I would love to see a show like that. Anywho, let's continue.
Capability build genuine relationships based on trust and reciprocity. These matter infinitely more
I've
than
never heard
gender
that
when
word.
crisis arrives. The psychological damage of constant fear programming is severe. Living in perpetual anxiety about half the population, while being unable to handle actual challenges, creates a special kind of neurosis. It's learned helplessness combined with misplaced vigilance. You're watching for the wrong threats while missing real dangers. This programming creates actual physical symptoms: chronic anxiety, stress hormones, inflammation, all from fearing something that statistically isn't a threat while ignoring actual health risks. The fear itself becomes more dangerous than what's feared. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of dysfunction. The cortisol response from constant fear literally shrinks the hippocampus, impairs memory formation, and reduces cognitive function. People are making themselves dumber and less capable through
and have you noticed like these type of women like are constantly like on some alert from nothing? Like their aura and the way you are next to them, like you, I don't know, it's very confusing. They're constantly like, and they cannot think straight. They are mumbling words. They are always in type of fear. For what? Like, come on, relax. Do the necessary. If you want to like have something that will make you feel more safe, whether it is like a spray or a taser or whatever you are allowed to have it and move on with life. Like actually thinking about it the whole time and making these scenarios in your head and looking left and right every single moment just to be careful. Like, bro, relax. It's really not that deep.
Manufactured fear of half the human population. The programming is creating the vulnerability it claims to protect against. Social media amplifies these fears exponentially.
Definitely.
Every negative
I
story
agree.
gets shared thousands of times,
Always
while
the negative.
millions of normal interactions go unnoticed.
100%
The algorithm
true.
feeds fear because fear drives engagement. You're
So
being
true.
programmed to
And
see
drama.
danger everywhere except where it actually exists. Consider this. If men were actually as dangerous as the narrative suggests, civilization couldn't exist. Cooperation between genders has been essential for human survival throughout history. The fact that we built complex societies proves that most people, regardless of gender, are basically cooperative and decent.
Yeah, and let's not make it or pretend that the only reason men and women are talking to each other is because they need each other when it comes to raising families and for newer generations to appear. Like, no. Come on, let's not pretend a man needs a woman just so they can reproduce or recreate. Like, I do not believe in that narrative. And also for a woman to only have a man because she wants children with him. And then she would, if she could, like a spider, just take that head away. Like, no, I do not believe
The real
that's
tragedy
the
is
case.
how this fear prevents genuine connection. How many potential friendships, relationships, and collaborations are destroyed by programmed fear? How many people live in isolation because they've been taught to see danger in half of humanity? The social cost is immeasurable. Children are growing up in this environment of manufactured fear. Boys are being taught they're inherently dangerous. Girls are being taught they're inherently victims. Both are being robbed of the chance to see each other as full humans with complex potential. This psychological damage will echo for generations. I see the effects in young adults who can't form healthy relationships. They
True.
approach each other with suspicion instead of curiosity,
I hope we can change
fear
that.
instead of interest. They're so worried about being hurt that they never truly connect. The programming has created a generation incapable of the vulnerability required for genuine intimacy. The competence crisis is real. While people argue about gender, practical skills are disappearing. Fewer people can fix things, build things, grow food, provide medical care, defend themselves. We're becoming a society of dependents, arguing about who's more oppressed while losing the ability to actually survive. Here's a practical test. Next time you feel that programmed fear response, ask yourself, what actual evidence do I have for this specific threat? Not statistics, not stories, not what you've been told. What have you personally experienced? For most, the answer reveals how much of their fear is borrowed rather than earned.
Yeah, that of course. Especially as I said, if you live in a first world country and you're listening to other women or from other from other countries, third world countries, that they are dealing with stuff, and then you're like pretending it's your story. This like borrowed victimhood mentality, I do not understand it. Like, don't you have some type of problems that you need to deal with individually in your own private life? Like, what are we doing here? How bored are you?
The solution isn't to be naive about real dangers. Bad people exist across all categories. The solution is to assess threat based on behavior and character, not demographic categories. Learn to read actual warning signs rather than assumed ones. Develop real capabilities rather than just fears. Build genuine relationships across difference. The best way to break fear programming is through actual experience with real people. When you know decent people from all backgrounds, the narrative that any entire group is dangerous falls apart. Reality is the best antidote to propaganda. Develop actual crisis skills. Learn first aid, basic mechanics, food production, self-defense. Not because the apocalypse is coming, but because competence creates confidence. When you know you can handle real problems, imaginary threats lose their power. The skill development issue goes deeper than just practical abilities. It's about developing judgment, resilience, and adaptability. These meta skills matter more than specific techniques. The person who can accurately assess situations, adapt to changes, and persist through challenges will survive regardless of the specific crisis question: who benefits from your fear? When you're afraid of half the population, who gains power? When people are divided against each other, who profits? When you're focused on gender warfare, what are you not paying attention to? The answers might surprise you. The most resilient communities throughout history have been those where people of all types work together based on shared values and mutual respect. Not segregated by category, but united by character, where competence is valued regardless of its source, where protection is mutual rather than one-sided. Look at frontier communities, military units, emergency response teams. Anywhere that actual danger exists and must be faced, you'll find men and women working together based on capability and trust, not ideology. When survival is actually...
Let's be honest, you would rather, as a woman speaking, I would rather have a man go physically and fight whatever there is to fight out there, and I will be back here cooking, cleaning, making everything all right, like gardening, whatever is necessary for survival in a zombie apocalypse. Yeah, I will be the one like trying my best to like provide whatever necessary it is for you to survive, the hunger, the comfort, you know, when you come back you have that comfort. But you're the one going out there, bro. It's not me. I can't. No.
Stake, the luxury beliefs disappear immediately. If society actually collapsed tomorrow, the gender wars would end immediately. Survival doesn't care about your ideology. Reality doesn't accommodate narrative. The people who make it are those who can adapt, cooperate, and contribute, regardless of their demographic category. The fear of men while being unprepared for actual crisis is a luxury belief. It's something people can only maintain while protected by the very civilization they critique. Remove that protection, and the fear hierarchy reorganizes around actual threats very quickly. This doesn't mean accepting bad behavior from anyone. It means being realistic about where threats actually come from and what preparation actually means. It means developing judgment based on individual character rather than group membership. It means building strength rather than just broadcasting fear. The path forward requires honesty about human nature, both its dangers and its potential. Most people are decent most of the time. Some people are dangerous some of the time. The categories that predict danger aren't the ones we've been programmed to fear. They're about character, choices and circumstances. Real safety comes from competence, community, and character judgment. Not from fearing entire demographics, not from ideology, not from hiding behind civilization while critiquing those who maintain it, but from developing actual capabilities and relationships that transcend superficial categories. The next time someone claims they fear men more than societal collapse, recognize this as a symptom of deeper disconnection. They've been separated from both human nature and natural reality. They're living in a narrative that serves someone's interest, but not theirs. The truth is that in actual crisis, good men and good women work together for survival. They protect each other's children. They share resources. They combine strengths to overcome challenges. This is how humanity survived everything nature threw at us. and it's how we'll survive whatever comes next. But this requires breaking free from programming that sees danger in gender rather than character. It requires developing actual skills rather than just anxieties. It requires building bridges rather than walls. Most importantly, it requires seeing each other as complex humans rather than simple categories. The fear narrative is falling apart as more people recognize its absurdity. You can only claim that half of humanity is dangerous while depending on them for survival for so long before the contradiction becomes obvious. Reality has a way of asserting itself despite our best efforts to deny it. What we're witnessing is...
I love this saying. Reality will. There is no denying it. And it's like, basically the truth will come out eventually. That's kind of the saying as well. It doesn't matter what you are saying and what you are believing today when it comes to these type of things that can be proven wrong with time. You just have to sit and wait, and eventually they will realize that they have been in the wrong, because the truth will find a way to come out. It always does.
It isn't really about gender at all. It's about the collapse of rational thinking in favor of emotional manipulation. It's about replacing practical competence with ideological compliance. It's about dividing people who should be united against actual threats to human flourishing.
Dividing people, dividing and conquering. Why and where did it start that we have, maybe with feminism, but maybe even before feminism became a thing, or maybe modern feminism is not the same as what feminism started. But I still do have this question of when did it all start? Why this became a thing where women started hating on men and seeing them as actual danger, where it really became an ideology, especially with women who are living in modern societies, women who are living in first world countries, women who are the most safe out there, who have this delusion and are living in this delusion. Not only that, they are spreading this delusion and they are grouping themselves together and trying so hard to like divide themselves from men and spread this hate and negativity towards men. What is the purpose? Who started it? And what is the conclusion? Why do we have this? And what is the outcome? Like along the way, at the end of the day, like why? You know, what's the point? What the utopia are we talking about? What the world that you have been working on is gonna look like? Like, what are the results of all this hatred that you are spreading? What do you want? Exactly, I would like to know, what is the end point?
The antidote is simple, but not easy. Face reality, develop competence, judge individuals by character, build genuine relationships,
that is like
question narratives that divide rather than unite, prepare for actual challenges rather than imaginary ones. And recognize that the person next to you, regardless of their category, might be your greatest ally or worst enemy based on their choices, not their chromosomes. Because when the lights go out, when the food stops coming, when civilization's mask slips, the gender wars will seem like the luxury they always were. What will matter is who can be trusted, who can contribute, who will stand with you when standing is hard. And those people exist across all demographics, waiting to be recognized by those with eyes to see character rather than category.
That is so true. All right, I'm ending this video here because it just keeps going on repeat, but we got the genuine idea behind it. And I agree with looking at things individually and learning how to critique things individually, not grouping people based on their gender, their sex, or whatever, and not like actually looking at everything as one. Even if you had a bad experience with a specific gender, it is really terrible mentality for you to think that all the people within that gender are the same. You know, and so many people who had bad experiences in relationships with a specific gender, they will continue going on really thinking that everyone from that gender is the same. And there are people who live on that, and there are people who enjoy to have that idea in their life because it benefits them somehow, whether it is in their career or their personal life. For example, all these TikTok women, they are gaining views talking shit about men because there's other women who also think the same, and they are gonna follow them, comment, and they are gonna bring more and more interaction and more views and more fame to them on social medias. While on the other side, you have this manosphere, and you have all these men who are selling all of these courses to other men, saying how they don't need women, how they just need success and money, and women are going to show up. But what kind of women we are talking about? You know, like, and this is a different topic, but also it's kind of the same, where they are living on the idea of men hating women and men not needing women and being able to survive and live without women, or just to use women because they are better than women. Like, you see what I mean? There is benefits left and right, but I genuinely do not understand, when did this start and where is this going? We even mentioned it in this video that it had to do with the education system, how we are programmed not to think and ask questions, where we have to follow rules and follow like sheeps. And I feel like it did start from there, or from parents, how they raised you. So it's layered. It is complex. And blaming a gender or talking actual crap about one gender and hating one gender is not leading us anywhere. I do stand with men on a lot of things, and my channel, if you know, and you have been following my videos, you know that I am on the side of men 90% of the time, because men do not side with men. They don't talk out loud. They are not speaking. And if they do, a lot of times they are trashing women along the way, and it's not the attitude. I will call out women that are mean. I will call out women that deserve it, all right? But there are women like me out there who do appreciate men, who don't deserve the hate, and I want to be the voice of these women, because I want you as a man to look for great women out there. I want you to look for women who do appreciate you, who love you, who care about you, who know your worth, because they do exist. But yeah, that is it. That is what I think. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Thanks so much for watching. If you have made it this far, you're a legend. You are a true legend. Because this video was going on and on and on and on, but I had a thing or two to say about it. And if you appreciate that, then I appreciate you. I truly do. Thank you. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Make sure to like this video to support me and my channel. I'm just an individual doing my thing and spreading my thoughts and my words and my beliefs and my ideology. My ideas, not ideology, actually. My ideas to the world out there. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.